essentially is that the way we do Lego is just to get people to talk and have a voice in whatever they need to do. So the next stage is actually for you to create your own. So we have two of these, right? This is the one which has already been done as an example that we filled in.
So this is what you were following along with today.
So this is your template. So you can think about how are you going to use this approach. Who are you going to run it with? And what are the questions that you need to ask? So you can compare what has been done before, the one that you've just gone through. So you should know the process now in terms of asking people to create something, ask them question, reflect on it, start all over again, the next stage, the next stage, and the next stage. But before we go through this, Angela is gonna...
In the middle of the scene.
Yeah. So Angela is gonna talk about the relevance with Bond in terms of the national... Do you want to say, so that we can capture you as well, camera?
But how do we connect these to the project? So here we're becoming gaming champions. So it's like a training of trainers. Means it's not just one training. It is how do we take this back home and use it, and then get the feedback loops. Because the idea is that in the Bond legacy, in the project, we can bring something new, a new tool that hasn't been used for the farmers. Sylvester and Sam were saying that it has been used in big corporate, in many different organizations, in universities, but it's never been used for the farmers. So this is something new, and we're exploring together. It's not something ready-made, a package. It is something here that we will develop together, and we will see how relevant it is, how useful it is. We were talking before how would farmers and different kind of farmers be interested or not by this. So the idea is that when you're back home, you can practice with your own different groups and people with who you work, and then we get the feedback, and all together we sort of refine this further, no? And I don't know if all of you know, but in the project now we're going to have 10 national workshops, and then we have 4 regional workshops, and then we have the youth forum and the movie and some regulatory work, and then we have a laboratory in Moldova. So you are the ones who, when you can, when it's possible, we will be talking about this, would come to some of these national workshops and animate the part of the workshop that deals with negotiation. And that will be very important because this is real life. It's no longer just training, but the idea is that when there are specific needs, there were some examples raised before, but when there is some priority and people want to come up with an agreement, like you also raised some issues, how to put the relevant stakeholders around the table, and Bond will only be a facilitator to provide the funds and the opportunity for people to sit around the table. But then, if you agree and if it fits with your schedules and all that, the idea is that you are a resource for the project, and you would come, one of you would come to one national workshop, another to another, and just help on that moment. We will see about language and all this, but help to make this negotiation the most fruitful possible, no? So it is quite an important role. It is something important. So there is a lot there. There is feedback loops, there is a new tool, and there is your presence in some of the negotiation tables where you can facilitate the process. So that was all. And of course, for you to tell us and to share together how you would want to do this. Because of course, after we separate and everyone goes home, so perhaps we can agree on, okay, so in that date, we can have a group Skype, and we can say, okay, I've been doing this or that. What did you see? Did you have the same problems? How did you solve them? So we can have a light timeline. We know that everybody is quite busy, but a little bit of some ideas of, you know, when we can talk about it and reconvene about that. So that were the thoughts.
Yeah. And using this sort of approach, so will get people to remember the experience, because when you invite them for a meeting, they might not remember at all, and they might say, oh, it's just another meeting where we just sit around and then arguing. If you do something like this, it will make them remember, oh, I went to that strange session, it's like on Lego thing, but we learned about also different challenges. like when we first went to the training as well, we were quite skeptical. And then after we've done it, I said, oh my God, we want to do more of this. So we've been doing it since for 4 years now. Because we find it quite interesting that people can open their mind up and be more, how do you call it, more ready to listen to one another after you've gone through so many different processes. This is just the first step. You can always say that from here you identify one key question that you want to answer. You will start the process again with that question. And you start it again until you find something that you really want to achieve. So we equip you with this, right? So this is the simplified structure that you can use to guide you. And the slides, we will provide the slides for you as well that you can change. All of this, we will give it to you to use as well. And you can translate it into your own language if you need to. But this structure will allow you to create your own. For example, the one with no detail. So you can set the name of your workshop. You can identify what is the actual goal. The goal is perhaps to address the gender issue in the farming sector based on this town or whatever. So normally it's like the first section is the introduction so that they will understand, oh, why are we using Lego? So give the same introduction. Yeah. It's like give the same introduction that I gave before, like, you know, only 20% of the people in the meeting is going to make the decision because those who are allowed will always be the one who make the decision. The rest will just listen. So we want people to work together. So you create this, the view of why we are using it. And then the icebreaker, we started with the tower. This is to help people to understand, okay, the skills of using Lego, because some people don't actually know how to use Lego, as well as to explain the process. The process is ask a question or give them a task, they build, and then they share. You ask question, you reflect, and then you start all over again. Build, share, build and share, build and share. So it's all about metaphors. I know some of you say question, oh, I couldn't find anything that would represent a person. It doesn't have to, because this is a representation. Now when I look at this, I know that this represents the farmer as in the individual. This will represent the cooperatives or the different unions. So it helps me to remember. I'm not sure what these eyes are, but so yeah.
Big brother.
Big brother, big brother. So yeah, so that is the second step. And then you will start with your levels, right? And this is where your work will start in terms of what are the questions that I want to ask. Yeah. And I always advise people to start with something positive, to set the scene, to make them feel being in a good place. Oh, I love what I'm doing. I love the farming sector, or I love the supermarket, or I know different people that you are working with. Or they can talk about what is the best practice that you have seen in your area. Or you can ask about what was the best product that you have seen from the farms. So people will start thinking about something positive.
This is so important, Sylvester, because very often in meetings we start with the problems.
Yeah.
What are the problems?
Yeah.
And I think this is
You
really,
need to start with the good.
And the importance of the question, no, to be simple. Sometimes we make them complicated.
Yes.
Just simple.
It has to be simple.
Yeah.
Simple. And then level 2, then you would start asking a question about either issues, any topics that you're that you are interested in, the focus of the meeting, opportunities. It doesn't have to be negative, but most of the time there might be some issues that you need to address. So you will ask a question. For example, the first question could be, what is the best product that you have seen from the farming sector? So everyone is describing, and then the next question is, what are the key issues in marketing products from the farmers into the international market? What are the key issues? Maybe, but it all depends on your goal, of course. For you, perhaps you were thinking about the vineyards of sector, so you would try to think about questions that would give you the answer about how to solve that problem in, yeah. So the same thing with the rest of you guys. So that's the second level. So once you have had that, then what you've done in level 3 is to get people to identify. You don't have to just identify one, but to make it simple today, we just identify one challenge or one issue or one items. You can decide to say 2 items per person or probably 3 items per person. Right? So once you've done that, level 4 is you create a model. No, level
3.
level 3. Yeah, level 3 is to create the group model. Yeah, is to mix them together, like what you have done here, to create a story. So that the reason why we keep on asking you guys to tell a story, because the more you tell it, the more you remember. The more you agree as a group, saying that, oh, we agree this, because if one of you doesn't actually tell a story, you don't actually know what he's thinking, whether does he understand, or does she understand, or does she agree with the whole story. So when you ask people to do it over and over again, then you would agree as a group, yes, we do agree that these are the issues that we solve. Yeah.
Yes.
Before we had that, actually, we saw it, no? That you
Yeah.
were insisting,
Yes.
no,
Insisting.
but go ahead. Yeah. You were like, no, but we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's also because there's quite a lot going on, like, and if you have more people as well, you have lots of different elements of the model come together. So, you know, you can forget what some of those mean because they are abstract. So it's really good to try and get everyone to go around and identify each part of the model, so when the next stage comes, people know that was on the model, that was an issue there, or that was that. So it is really important to try and get everyone to tell that story about the model so that they remember that and it sticks in their mind.
Yeah.
And what do you think? What is the maximum limit?
So-
People, the maximum limit, how much like
10
Wow.
maximum.
maximum?
Yeah. So
10, yeah.
That's important, no?
It is so that you would have time, because you have to remember that your stakeholders might not have a lot of time to spare. So we always try to do it like, this is just the right number, 8 is just perfect. 10, that's why we have a lot of extra time today, because there are only 8 of us. Because we planned this for 10, but you can reduce the amount of time.
And there is a sort of a caveat, I guess, that with more trainers, so if you had, like there's 2 of us, you can increase that because there's 2 people to kind of do that. But generally, 10 is a good number to go with.
And what about the composition of the group? I mean, if we have to involve different stakeholders around one topic, for example, farm,